we're speaking about this idea that the Benoni, and it's important to understand this if we strive to become Benonis, the Benoni doesn't necessarily despise evil. If he would despise evil, he would have no attraction to evil. And then he would be almost on cruise control with his divine soul. But he still has some likings towards evil. There are only a few moments in which he actually does despise evil. And those are moments of his greatest spiritual heights, like during the Shema and Amidah. But on a day-to-day, he doesn't despise evil, and that's why he's still attracted to it. But even though he's still attracted to it, he's able to control it. Now, King David does say, Book of Psalms, that Ohavei Hashem sinu ra. Some say it's just that verse, and that I'm about to translate, is just a declaration of reality. Some say it's actually a command. But what it means is that those who love God, sinu ra, they hate evil. So again, some say that this might just be a command. If you truly love God, then you better start hating evil. Or some say, again, it's just a declaration of reality. If you really, really love God, then your natural state is that you do hate evil. But the Benoni is not in a constant state in which his love of God is always a flame in his heart. Tzaddik, yes. That's his mode, modus operandi. Not the Benoni. Benoni constantly has to work on himself, and therefore he constantly has to battle the likings, the drawings, the attractions that he has towards evil. You know, just to simplify this idea, I would say, look, every one of us has areas that that there are likings that in life that we used to have that we don't have anymore. We've just upgraded our system, right? It could be just as simple as games that we used to play as young kids. If you played cards, you may have upgraded your system and you have no attraction towards playing cards anymore, because that's it. You're not at the level of the immature child or the mature child. Doesn't matter. Maybe there are mature children who play cards, but you're not the level of children that you were once in. Same with diets. Some people, you know, because they've refined their nutrition so much, they hate junk food, as they call it. Why? Because they've upgraded the system. Some that are still in the journey might still have likings towards junk food. Maybe that's a better example, because, you know, they still haven't cleansed themselves and elevated themselves in the nutrition world, at least, to the point that they hate pizza, they hate hot dogs. But some have that. So again, it all depends on how refined we are in order to reach a certain level. And so it is on a deeper spiritual level. The more we are refined, the more we are madly in love with God, infatuated with God, or Ohavei Hashem, then no more will despise evil. The Benoni, unfortunately, is not always on that level. But he at least tries to become or to reach those heights. You know, my 6-year-old son asked me the other day, and maybe it has a lot to do with this, and with other things too. I asked him, you know, there are more vitamins in the salad than in ice cream, so you should eat your salad. You shouldn't eat the ice cream. He says, so then why did Hashem not put vitamins in ice cream? So, it's a good question, right? And in many ways, which teaches us also a different idea that sometimes that's life, that we have to go to the ice creams of life in order to extract some vitamins. Or sometimes it's the kale, that's a kale salad. So it's the kale that's bitter and everything, but really enriches us. It's the bitterness of life that enriches us. Oh, there you go. There's more calcium in ice cream. Thank you. I didn't know that. I should have told him that. My wife wouldn't have been happy, though. She wanted him to eat the salad. Okay. But the point is that when we are refined, right, then we love the salad, even though it may not be as good as ice cream, because we're just infatuated with love. And when we're not refined, then we try to look for excuses. Oh, maybe this evil is still a little bit of good. Maybe there is vitamin in ice cream. Maybe, and that's how the Yetzer Hara, that's how the Nefesh HaBahamit, the animal soul, plays with us. Benoni has those games going on in his mind all the time. And that's because, again, he's not at the level in which he's a tzaddik, where he's so in love with God, that sinura, that he really hates bad. Okay, that was just to explain what this says here. But again, I welcome comments, disagreements, more ingredients that the ice cream has. Maybe I could share that too. Okay, let's continue otherwise.
Okay. His task is only to turn away from evil and do good in actual practice, in deed, speech, or thought, wherein the choice, ability, and freedom are given to every man. Unlike the soul's desires hidden within one's heart, the revealed aspects of action, speech, and thought are subject to our conscious choice. One is not compelled to behave in any particular fashion. He is free, that he may act, speak, and think even what is contrary to the desire of his heart and diametrically opposed to it.
Right. I want to focus just on these words here from Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, from the Alter Rebbe, the Tanya here, that his task, the task then of the Benoni, is just to turn away from evil and do good. Turn away from evil and do good. Sur merava asetov. And I just want to dwell on this a little bit, including what Rabbi Steinsaltz's commentary here says. But there are usually two ways in order to fight evil. Those two ways also, by the way, come from the book of Psalms, I think 36 or 37. Sur merava asetov. Refrain from evil and do good. So there are two ways. Rabbi Steinsaltz would often say this, and I know I've said this in the past, that there is a school of thought that says turn away. And they would read the verse in the following fashion: turn away from evil, 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 and do good. In other words, be afraid of this evil. This is going to ruin your life. And there's some people who would also infuse fear. Don't do this because it's really bad for you. And they focus on the bad, and they fall. And because it's so bad, how much you have to turn away from it. But then there's another school of thought that says turn away from evil and do good, do good, do good, do good, and do good, and do good. Their emphasis is on the good. And as the Alter Rebbe himself said, a little bit of light expels a lot of darkness. You can focus on how terrible evil is, or you can focus on how great good is. And when you focus on how great good is, then you simply fall in love with good. And almost naturally, automatically, you start refraining from evil because you're just married to good. If you focus on evil all the time, not only would it fill you and your conscience with fear and negative emotions, but you may never get to doing good. So you're always in a state of, oh gosh, I'm not going to go here, I'm not going to go there, I'm not. But if you focus on doing good, then that in and of itself will elevate you to that level of the Benoni. And in many ways, through this little line here, the Alter Rebbe is suggesting both directions, while I think leaning towards more the direction of doing good. That's one thing about this verse. Another thing about this verse, turn away from evil and do good, sur merah. It's interesting. It doesn't say don't touch bad. It doesn't say don't engage with bad. It says turn away. What does that mean? It really refers to the perspective of Teshuvah, which is very much the theme of these 10 days of Teshuvah between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And that is that sometimes, yes, there is a part of this animal soul, of this evil, that does speak to us. Okay, ice cream. Yes, I love ice cream. Let's go to that level. But not that it's bad, right? But, there are ice cream-like things in the animal soul's world. So how can I deal with it? To start and engaging myself in all sorts of, all sorts of mental exercise of analyzing why ice cream is bad for you is really not a good way. Because very often it's like Rabbi Steinsaltz would say, if I'm stuck in mud and I start playing with it, I'll just get more dirty. So what's the solution? Jump out, turn away, Just don't look at it. Engage in something else. Put your mind, focus your mind in a different direction. And then you'll see slowly but surely that this evil won't speak to you anymore. Sometimes it's the Yetzer Hara, it's the Nefesh HaBahamit, the animal soul, that captures you through an engagement of some sort. But when you say to the Nefesh HaBahamit, I'm not even going to engage with you, I'm going to go somewhere else, I'm going to think of something else, that's the way to overcome it. You know, there's another verse in the book of Psalms that says, Ki chok mizrach mima'arav ken rachak mimeno et peshaenu. That means that just as east is far from west, so too God can distance ourselves from our sins. Now, how far is east from west? You might say it's infinite, and therefore it's impossible to distance ourselves from sin. But it's not. Now I'm focusing east, and now I'm focusing west. It's just the turn of the neck. And that's exactly what it says here. Turn away from evil. Just focus on something. Turn your neck. Go. Don't even look at it. Don't engage with it. King Solomon, the son of King David, put it in a different way, in a brilliant way, in the book of Proverbs that says, Altan ksil beivlato pen tishvelo. Do not answer a fool in his foolishness, lest you equal yourself to him. If you start engaging with evil, you'll equal yourself with evil. If you start engaging yourself or speaking with a fool, you'll become a fool. You'll equal yourself. So just turn the other direction. Turn away from evil. Don't engage with evil. Turn away. Don't reason with evil. There's no point. By the way, this is true not just with evil, but it's true also with I would say, you know, they call it in Yiddish, Narishkeit. You know the word? Mm-hmm. Narishkeit. Nonsense. Mm. You may not call nonsense evil, but in many ways it is, because it lowers you. Don't engage with nonsense. You have a lot of people who would love to argue with you on nonsense. Why are you wasting your time? I think 90% of TV shows are exactly about that. Why? Turn yourself from evil. Look the other direction. From the TV screen, go back to your books. That's much better. Or go back to your family, even better. Go back to something else. Turn your neck. But that's also what this is saying. So there are two schools of thoughts here that this short verse introduces, and at the same time, it also gives us a tool, a true method on how to distance ourselves from evil. Again, I welcome comments.
Rabbi, just,
yes.
Well, I don't know if it's an apt metaphor, but in performance, let's say I'm playing a symphony with an orchestra, and there's a very difficult clarinet solo coming up. Mm-hmm. If you focus on what I would say the evil, which is the mistake that you are dreaded making, that you know that you will realize that. But what you need to do is to focus on how you want it to sound, the good. And you will do that. So focusing on the good is always where you have to move, because otherwise, all you're going to produce is bad performances.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Focus on the music that you need to play on the good notes. I love that, because life is a song in many ways, right? And if we focus on the mistakes, then the symphony of our song will be hurt. So that's, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Very powerful. Yeah. I'll share with you that it's interesting, but I don't know, I think maybe I did share this in the past, but it's worth sharing again because also of this theme that we're connecting to of Teshuvah during these 10 days of Teshuvah, but it's an important idea. I don't know, some of you may remember Bill Smith, who was the visionary of this building, and he died of a massive heart attack at a younger age, relatively, 66 years old, young age. And towards the end of his life, he had this deep awakening. Many say that he was a shrewd businessman and he burnt a lot of bridges and so on, but really towards the end of his life, he just his soul awakened and he reconnected to his Judaism and started learning on a regular basis and to show more and more and on to fill in and so on. And he also made a list of all of those people who had asked, who he knew he hurt in business particularly. And he made a point to go and reach out to them one after the other and to ask for their forgiveness. And I remember him sharing that list with me. And after he went to number 20, to the last person on the list, a guy named Buzz Rottenberg in Chicago, 3 weeks later, he died. It's almost as if his neshama was waiting for that. But after he died, he appeared in a dream. That's the point I want to make. To a dear friend who also knew him. Some of you may remember Ruben Yonatanov, now lives in New York. But he used to be a part of our community at the very beginning. And Bill and Ruben had a special relationship. So Bill appears to him in his dream. And Ruben asks Bill in the dream, reflecting back on your life, is there anything that you wish you knew you had that now you do know that you have? And he said, yes, reflecting back on my life, I wish I hadn't been too worried about my sins. He was a man who really fell in the abyss of remorse. It's okay to have remorse. You should have remorse. But to be conquered by your remorse and to always feel bad about yourself is a terrible thing. And in many ways, Bill was always, oh, I did such bad in my life. So, I mean, it's not like he robbed a bank or, bad in business or whatever. But he always felt terrible. And yeah, he tells Ruben, I wish I hadn't dwelled on that too much. And in many ways, it goes back to that point, right? Don't dwell too much on your mistakes. Yes, have remorse, correct them, never do them again. No doubt. But remember, the second part of the verse, Aseh tov, Aseh tov, Aseh tov, do good, do good, do good. And eventually that little bit of light will expel that darkness. So don't dwell too much. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, on the sin of Adam and Eve, because after they sin, if you recall, right, they ate from the forbidden tree, and after they sin, they enter this mode of, call it depression, call it escapism, but some type of mode that the Torah describes quite elaborately. They go and hide, and they realize that they were naked, and they have to clothe themselves, and it's like a whole confusing type of mode. And on that, the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, says that that's exactly how the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, functions. When he causes a person to sin, it's not the sin that the Yetzer Hara really wants. It's the state that the sin puts you in that he relishes most. It's that depression, that confusion, that constant remorse, that constant beating yourself down. That's what the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, the animal soul loves. And therefore, the Baal Shem Tov says, if a person is able to snap out of that, yes, doesn't mean that he's going to go back to doing the same sin. You got to correct yourself. You got to repair your ways. But you snap out of that mode and you focus on continuing to play your song, right, on doing good. Then the Yetzer Hara really hasn't won. Then you, even though you sinned, you are the one that's victorious.